find my glasses, we'll figure out what day it is. This is Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026 at 10 a.m. And it's meeting number 555 of the Lake George Park Commission. We do have a quorum. Before we get into the agenda items, I think maybe all of you remember Tom Morehouse. Tom, a longtime commissioner, and he just passed early this week. Tom was a great guy.
Yep.
When I first came on the Park Commission in maybe 2006, he kind of, by my appointment, became my mentor on a lot of things. He was just a smart guy. He was a graduate of the Air Force Academy, I'm quite sure, and a long-time commercial pilot, and well liked in the Ticonderoga and surrounds area. So that's the sad news for the day. We got a quorum. We're not introducing anybody. So let's go to approval of the meeting minutes and the fiscal actions report. We'll start with the approval of meeting minutes for the May 2026 meeting.
I make a motion to approve them.
Second.
Motion made, motion second. No other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no nays, it's passed. How about approval of the fiscal actions report for May 2026?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Hear no nays? That's approved and carried. Item 3, project review actions report. Mr. Danik.
Project Review Actions Report. Resolution 2026-22. Accept the Project Review Actions Report. Whereas the Commission has received and reviewed the Project Review Actions Report prepared by staff and dated June 16, 2026, and whereas the Project Review Committee recommends acceptance of the Project Review Actions Report, now therefore be resolved that the Commission directs that the Project Review Actions Report be incorporated in the minutes of the full Commission meeting. So moved.
Second.
Motion's made, motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no nays? We have that. Item 4 is a presentation assessing Lake George algal ecology for Dr. Farrell from RPI's Darren Freshwater Institute. The first time I met this guy, he was in a kayak at the end of my dock on Boone Bay, gathering up the baby clams. What were they called? Baby clams. And that's how we got.
Gathering up dinner?
I never knew how tall he was for about 3 months. Until I met him outside a kayak.
Well, thanks, Ken. So, this is the update on the algal project. I'm Jeremy. I'm at RPI. I'm the co-PI here. Sandra's the PI. And so, you guys funded a really nice project, like a beautiful project, to look at the algal ecology in Lake George in ways that we really haven't done in the past. And so we tried to take everything we can and throw it at the algal population. And this is what the result of it is. A lot of good hard work. So the goal of the study was to develop an understanding of the current benthic algal populations in the near shore and relate these findings to localized issues. If you look at RPI's data set, we've got beautiful data starting in like the 1960s. It all focuses out in the water column, out offshore. There's some nearshore data. There's nothing on the rocks. And so this is trying to really remedy that situation and look at what is driving the algal population on the rocks, because frankly that's what people talk about a lot. I remember in like 2013 in the Post-Star, there was like 3 Sundays in a row of, hey, we've got these algal populations on the near shore. And so that's what our goal was. We did it in 2 distinct ways. First up is we did this point intercept study, where we identified 100 locations randomly around the lake, and then identified places, and then sent it off to the Park Commission, and your former director there, Dave Wick, said, could we move this point here and this point here, but otherwise it's pretty good. Sure, yeah. And his point was places up in the north end where we have exposed areas and near shore and closed areas. And so, yeah, we moved them a little bit, but mostly we just collected 100 points. And every single sample came from about my knee or to my mid-chest, about a meter and a half to a meter depth of water. We collected SON chemistry. We collected, each of these things have their own slides, so I won't talk about it. We collected a SON, which is what's on those vertical profilers out in the water column. They have pH, turbidity, conductivity, all the things that you can think of. And we did that for each of the sites right in the water column next to the samples. Then we also did nutrients. We collected up a sample, brought it back to the lab, and ran orthophosphorus, total nitrogen, nitrate, and ammonia, the nitrogen and phosphorus series. Those are the things that generally we think control the growth of algal populations. Okay, then we also did, I didn't know there was going to be animation. Flow cam stuff. We have a brand new flow cam, which is basically an imaging microscope. We put a sample at the top, it goes through, and it shoots a laser and takes an image and says how much chlorophyll is in that sample, and an image that we can then classify. And so we have, there it is in the lab. Here's some Delictiospermum, and the way we did this is we took a rock sample, scraped it off into a tube, and then poured it through the flow cam. And then more on the biology, we use the bentho torch. This is basically a can that you plug onto a rock, and it measures the amount of algal population per square centimeter on that surface. And then it not only tells you how much algal mass is there, but also what percent of it is green algal, like the greens, the blue greens, and the blue greens are cyanobacteria, and the diatoms, so the structure of the population. Then I asked Randy to just do a fetch analysis on each of these. Turns out that's not really easily done. And so I took a very long, distracted detour and built an R package. Might not mean a lot to you, but this is like a really big pat on the back for me. This is like this is going to be used by other people. It didn't exist before, and so you can put a point in a lake and it will measure the distance in all directions, 362 directions, every 5 degrees. You can set it to 1 degree or so inclined, and then measure that distance, and then it takes the effective fetch, which is to say, what's the longest area, the 3 longest areas. And so we think that that exposure would probably lead to the amount of algal population that's there. And so that's now published and available. If you go to CRAN, you can go get it. Okay. So the goal here was to say, okay, we can have all this biological data, all this chemical data, all this physical setting data. Let's build something that can identify what amount of algal population will be at each individual spot. That was the goal anyway. So we came up with a nice little acronym, the EXACT model. Environmental expression of the algal community types. First, we'll take all that biological data, put it into some unsupervised learning, and then say, these are the groups of algae, and then take all the other data and say, this is what causes those groups. It's a good idea. It worked okay on some levels and failed on other levels. That's okay, but let's get to that eventually. So you all said, yes, please do this in August, and that's what we did. This is our population. Actually, really low. Almost all the sites we went to in August, very low, like 1.24 micrograms of chlorophyll A per centimeter squared. And so this is just like a representation of it. The green algae actually has a bimodal distribution, so most of them have not so much, and then there's some with some. And then the diatoms, and then most of the biomass, the majority of the biomass, and it's not like a lot, was cyanobacteria, or blue-green algae. If you notice that number, 1.24 is well below the threshold for what in the literature is called a bloom, an algal bloom, at 5 milligrams per liter. And it's even below the 2 milligrams per centimeter squared, sorry. So we're not looking at a lot of algal biomass. And so this is all the sites. Going from north, up in Ticonderoga to the south. This is the window of what's considered a productive nearshore biofilm. Most of them are low. Okay. But physically, what do they look like in space? So we took all of them, and this is the low versus high. We took an unsupervised learning technique to say, this is what the different types are, and so the high tier are in red and the low tier are in green, and each of the points now have been modeled here and predicted whether or not they're a high tier or low tier. As it turns out, we do okay. 70% of the time we got the answer correct, distinguishing between these two different tiers. And then we take the data and we say, what's actually driving the population? And the two cleanest measures are the total phosphorus measurement, not orthophosphorus, but total phosphorus, and the effective pitch. Turns out that was probably a good idea to build that model. So that's like a big take-home message, and we can now take that and apply it to basically any time point and try to figure out what the algal population will be. Now that's how it worked. We also did this algal community type for 5 different groups of algal populations, and we have now all of those same points clustered up into 5 different groups based on what the type of algae is at each different location and the abundance. Then we have like AC2, the algal community type 2, is really high in greens, and they're scattered about. That particular ACT is different. It's weird. And I have no idea why. I tried as much as I could do to figure out why that one is acting the way it is. The best I can come up with is it's rocky. Okay. But there's probably something further beyond this. And so that's an open question to go into the future with. I put a lot of time into modeling that up. And frankly, we're not able to predict them with the chemistry and the physical setting we have. Perhaps there's other things. Perhaps it's presence of dots, or perhaps it's the proximity to milfoil, or who knows what else. Stream water inputs. There's probably other things that need to be done, but this is ongoing. So that's all fine and good, but we weren't happy with the results being just a single snap point. And so we extended the effort. We just took some other monies and put us out in the field for a couple more days, and then asked for the Fellow Foundation for some money for this summer. So we went and reanalyzed those 50 same points all on the western shore in October, in May, and in August this year we're planning on doing it. And now we're going to see the seasonality of this population as well. So here's the seasonal patterns of it. This is kind of literature appropriate data. In the middle of summer we have kind of a mix of the population. During the autumn, in our October samples, it shifted towards the blue-green population. Over the winter, it probably collapsed. We don't know, we didn't take samples. In the May sample, it was filled with diatoms. And not just diatoms, but this big fat tail up here implies that there's been a lot of diatoms in that area. And so, okay, that's kind of expected, but what does it look like? It looks like in August, it was kind of the least exciting time to look at the nearshore population. Unfortunately, it just didn't have as much growth as the other stuff. In October, we had a couple of sites where we had obvious blooms, very obvious blooms, and basically more productive samples. And in May, again, obvious blooms, up to 24 milligrams of chlorophyll light per centimeter squared, which when you're looking at it, it's that thick mat of algal population that you've seen, and now you can say there's a number to associate it with. And so spatially, it looks like this. And I'm noticing something that it's like, yeah, there's a pattern here, kind of. Obviously, in the north, there's less productivity, and that's what we've seen in the offshore data. And we're seeing, like, maybe not any, like, for this point here, there was no permanence to that algal biomass. And so what we don't know is that an impermanence, because it's different times of year, different algal populations growing, and it favors diatoms at this time of year or not, and other times of year, who knows? And so, there you go. The productivity levels increase on those shoulder seasons. So if you were to do this again, you should probably focus on the shoulder season for modeling efforts. Okay, so that's the point intercept stuff. Any questions on point intercept?
So do you think that we should have another visit this year along the same timeframes, you know, to see if it's repeatable?
So in August, it'll be 1 year, and we're going to do the same exact thing. And we've got some further foundation support to do that.
Okay.
Because we think that that's it. We want to know if there's any permanence to the signal that we see. Yeah.
And Jeremy, you had the original testing sites were on both shores of the lake.
Right.
And why don't we have any data for the east shore right now?
For October and May,
Yeah.
because it was begged, borrowed, and stolen. We just did it because we could, because we wanted to know the answer. We wanted to know the seasonality, not just the... So the Park Commission, I said, we need to do this for 100 points. I didn't say anything about a season. And so then I just added this, because I thought it was a good thing to do. What we didn't do is we didn't do flow cam, we didn't do full nutrients, we didn't do something else.
But like Hewlett's Landing, Glen Burnie, Gull Bay, those are pretty concentrated populated districts.
Yeah.
And where there's been some issues. And I just, it would...
You want me to go back there?
Pardon me?
You want me to go back there?
I do.
Okay. That's so, I mean, this was extra. This whole little bit was extra.
Oh.
You chose the west side because of the activity, that's where the predominance of the...
I chose the west side because it was close. I was already on the west shore and I wanted to do 50 points. If DFWI was still on up in Gold Bay, we'd be on the east side.
Yeah, okay.
Have you tracked this relative to like streams coming in? I saw one of your pictures with stream
Yeah.
and or the septic initiative, if we had any places that had septic issues.
Yeah. What I really should do is query Vandy Bath and say, hey, can we be buddies? And we just haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
But we have done we've done all the stuff that we were supposed to do. Now it's time to go beyond.
Because you found other opportunities, basically.
Okay, so why I'm asking this, because I am going to be questioned at the Homeowners Association of Hewlett's Landing on the 4th of July. And I know there were people that were sitting on the edge of their seats to find out some of the data for the east side of the lake. So can I, in reality, be truthful and say that down the line you're going to do this?
With money.
Well, you did
Pay
that,
for it.
you got both sides in August. Just-
I got this side, the east side in August. What I didn't do is follow it up in October and in May.
Okay.
But I can do it again for those couple of sites, sure,
But,
in August.
and when you do, the big blooms that have happened have occurred in the late autumn,
Yeah.
the end of October, early November. The three bacteria, or the three types of algae, the cyanobacteria.
Cyanodiatomic.
And the diatomic regular. Which one, but none of those are toxic, or is it the cyanobacteria can be?
Cyanobacteria can be, but isn't necessarily. There's not been any cyanotoxins that have been measured in Lake George that I know of.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that they couldn't happen.
And all of these are 1 meter to 1.5 meters samples?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
fall.
You mentioned seasonality, but you didn't talk about water temperature. Is that a factor in here?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And it would be nice to have even more resolution
Sure,
on time.
yeah.
And so what I've done with my interns this year is I've said every morning before you start like doing what we tell you to do, go do this at a couple of places near DFWI. They're not super successful at doing because we tell them to do a lot, but that's hopefully a data point that I'll be able to pull in for at least 2 points. Good cool point. Yeah.
Is there any special way that a layperson could get the right type of catchware and take a sample and bring it to you?
If there's an algal bloom, the best idea to go with would be to call us up and say, come on over. Because what we'd want to do is take it per square centimeter.
Exactly.
And we'd also want to do the benefit torch and do all the suite of chemistry as well.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yeah.
This is a project that will probably never end.
Well, you got to listen to a little more because you paid for more. Okay, so in addition to the point intercepts, oh wait, was that it for 100 points?
Yeah.
Okay. In addition to that, we did something totally experimental and I was not sure it was going to work and I was a little bit nervous. Worked pretty good. Didn't work perfectly, worked pretty good. So the idea here is we put a video camera on the side of the boat and we drove 1.5 meters, 2.5 meters, and 3.5 meters. We tried to keep the camera about 1.5 meters away from the bottom. So that was the goal for this particular study. And then we take that video feed, combine it with GPS points at the same time, roll it together, and then feed it into a model that we have to train that predicts what each image is of. So we had to train up a model to do this. So that's the basic premise. So go pretty slow, use a geo-referenced video, and then do monthly transects at 5 bays, and then do 5 additional bays. And so we're really good at some of the species in the lake. We are really good at identifying Potamogeton amplifolius, which is like the big leaf pond weed. It's like that ball one. We're really good at Potamogeton robinzii. What you're seeing here is the F1 score, which is in this parlance of what do you want to call this? Machine learning for video or computer vision. There's other words to call it. This F1 score anyway, it's this idea of, okay, you're going to miss some of them. You're going to either miss them by driving over and not identifying it, or you're going to miss some by driving over and saying, oh, that's milfoil when it's really robinzii or something like that. And so closer to 1 is really good. Potamogeton amplifolius is really good. Myriopsis spicatum, milfoil, invasive. We're really bad at it. We're really bad at it because we didn't have a lot of training data. We didn't have a lot of data that had milfoil in it. And so we need to pull that in and then do more work on that particular species. But of note here, like pretty okay at it is the 0.62 on the benthic algae, which is why we were doing this in the first place, is to see if we can identify bigger swaths of benthic algae in the water. And so this is what it looks like. You've got a video where we can say, okay, here's probably prey longus in the water column, kind of a dark grainy video. And we bought this special video camera that we probably should have just gotten some GoPros, and we could probably just get some GoPros. But we have that, and now we have each one of those identified boxes, and we can put it onto a map. Here's up in Sunset Bay, where we had, in July, we had gone over it, and right at this point here, we had a bunch of algae, identified. That was the most dominant thing in the water column, or on the lake bottom at that time of year. And so we have that for a bunch of bays over a bunch of time, and we can say, hey, this is what it looks like over time for those particular bays. And there's not necessarily a big conclusion here, more of a just like, hey, we can do this, and we're working towards making this better in the future. And so we did a pretty decent job, and they kind of, one thing that I should have noted is like, algae is taking up in some bays up to like 20% of the frames in the data set have algae in them, which is to say there's masses of algae strewn throughout. And this is on the percentage amplifolius. You'll see that those F1 scores are kind of reflected in this because we have more training data on this. As we get more and more into this particular effort, we'll get better at each of the F1 scores as far as the quality of the assessment. Okay, and then we also did this at a bunch of individual sites in November. There's a big gotcha on this. The gotcha is that what we, like, shelving rock is not a huge mass of algae. It's a beautiful bed, right? There were some algal spots, but we only have an N of 46. The problem is we didn't really do this exactly right. We need an area surveyed, so even when we don't have anything identified, it needs to give us a frame number.
Right.
And so this is kind of a relative thing to say that it's working. It's just not working perfectly yet. Okay, so that's that. Here's your conclusions. Biomass is low across the lake, at least in August, and well below the biofilm, the bloom biofilms in all of the August samples. But inside of that is this idea that we can predict a little bit the tier of the amount of algae that's there, and the biggest predictors of it are total phosphorus and the effective fetch. Seasonal patterns have shown that we've had as much as 4% of the lake bottom where it's available, where it was studied was in bloom in those shoulder seasons. And the video survey is working well for some species, poorly for others, and with algae it's getting better with more training data. And with that, possible next steps. We need to go back and resample in August. We'll add some northern sites on the east side. Expand the video training set. I don't know, we should probably redo this every few years. I'm not sure how often, but it seems like a good thing to follow up on occasionally. And incorporate extra data where available. Dissemination, I think I've got a paper here, probably I'll first start at NOMS or ASLO, American Society of Limnology and Oceanography, North American Lake Management Society, those are those things. So, in the process of drafting a manuscript, but it's a little premature because we haven't taken August yet. We want that repeatability. And if you guys don't have anything to do on August 17th, I'll be giving a seminar that's going to look a lot like this stuff. Of course, I should give some thank yous. Y'all are great. Thank you very much. RPI, DFWI, a couple of interns, Olivia, who's in the area doing some environmental work. Hope's still in school out in California. Dave basically does most of our field work. I mean, I help, but like he coordinates a lot of it. And Allison is in charge of the flow cam. And I had a computational intern who is going on to somewhere in Minnesota. I think he's in grad school now. Any questions? Yeah.
You mentioned shelter early on in it. Is shelter just docks, or what's shelter?
Can I go back to?
That was the first section.
Yeah, it sure was. So this I I didn't really talk about this. So from this point, it's drawing a point to here, to here, to here, that's the distance. If that is a small distance, it would be more sheltered.
Okay.
Like a really tight bed, like.
Okay, so it's not covering it like a dock?
No, but although that would probably be a nice extra bit of data to add in, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think every 2 years would be right on a great program, because, you know, I mentioned earlier about this whole septic initiative, and if we could do this for the next decade or keep going, because we will develop trends, and we will see what's going on, and maybe 10 years from now, maybe cleaning up the lake with the septic systems will have a really positive impact on the algae situation. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it's something that you've started, something that, to me, is, you've turned over all the stones here. It's great study.
That's fun too, because we literally.
Right.
That's really great. So, you know, part of the reason why we did this is because we hear anecdotally, oh, there's more algae or less, but there wasn't really a baseline. You created a great baseline that we can revisit and restudy and see if there's trends, see if our management is working, or are there hot spots where we keep on getting blooms where maybe we should focus some management efforts to reduce nutrients. So
And
this is really
It's a pretty
great.
complicated endeavor. I mean,
There's a lot here. This particular sidetrack took me way too much time.
oh, yes. But it's nice to have the technology.
On further studies, would you still use 100 sites, or would you limit it to maybe 25 or 50?
Well, I limited it to 50 because of money.
This year is because of money.
Yeah.
If we continue this, say, every 2 or 3 years, what do you think you might propose?
I would have to do a power analysis to like actually find out what the statistical right number would be. But
Or maybe carry 100 for a few studies and then narrow it down?
yeah. Or maybe do a subset and then on call for when there is a bloom or whatever, because there's probably something interesting in those bloom states. It's just preconceiving that's challenging.
To follow up on Kathy's notion that with our septic initiative, we should see improvement over time, but we've been pushing stormwater management for now 20 years, and we can't go back and see what the biomass was like 20 years ago and see if there was a trend in the last 20 years. But from a layperson's perspective, I'm hearing a lot of old timers like myself complain about a lot of blooms way back that we haven't seen of late, in my mind. So I'm wondering if some of the efforts we've made have made a difference, or if it's totally luck. You know, it's
Do you
other
think that
factors.
they're absent from the delta areas where you would have seen them in storm space, or is it more like?
Can't speak to the deltas. I'm speaking to bays more and
Yeah.
shallow waters in general. And it's certainly not scientific at all. It's
No, I mean,
just
but that's-
layperson's observation. That's all we got, right?
But I mean, like that's how you start a good question, is with
Yeah.
anecdotal observation and
Yeah,
try
yeah.
to form the question out.
Sort of thinking about the sources, is there anything in the data that would possibly point to organic pollution versus other sources of pollution?
That's a good question. I don't have anything specifically jumping to mind, but probably there's ratios on conductivity versus phosphorus or something that's in there. I didn't test that, but it's worth a follow-up thought. Yeah, good question.
And Jeremy, do you see in the future where you're going to be able to take, you know, that whole list of the different algae that were identified and actually associate them directly with the type of pollution that may have caused them to grow or...
That was my hope. I'm not sure I'm really...
That's a ways away.
That's a ways away. I mean, yes, that's great, but yeah. I don't think I have the temporal or spatial resolution for that. That said, it's an interesting endeavor.
Yeah.
What was interesting though is that it didn't seem like the location on the lake had as much of it to do, as much of an impact as the shelter in the lake.
Well, one of the things that always kind of mind-boggled me was out in the middle of the lake, off the shores of some of the islands.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the divers, like I think of Kathy and Sonia and people that were doing diving out there, I could not believe how much algae there was. And here you're not near any, any populated area.
I suspect that has a lot to do with deep water nutrients leaking out from the hypolimnion, but I really don't know. That's long been my guess, because I've noticed the same thing. Near nothing. Why should we have so much algae?
Yeah. Well, keep it up, because you just broke the ice.
Sue, so are you going to revisit us in the fall after you take your August measurements?
If you want a short update, sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Can we do it in December? I teach in fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can work it out.
Yeah, I'm teaching on Wednesdays. This is a Wednesday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. I wonder if I teach Tuesdays.
Sometime in the fall is fine.
Sometime after you absorbed it.
So, Jeremy, the algae, you saw a lot of algae out there. So, aside from it being a nuisance and ugly to look at, is any of it harmful?
Not that we measured, but we didn't measure any toxins specifically. That is some efforts that's ongoing with New York State DEC, where they're trying to kick up some algal, some cyanotoxins from the sediments. I've only seen ideas of it. I haven't seen any data yet. It'd be fascinating to kind of tie some of that information in. Just haven't done it yet.
Other things besides, poisonous algae blooms, the other things that affect the lake, people's water supplies, fishing, all that. Is there any relationship that you would draw that some area's been affected that way, just use?
That is a good question. Like land use and lake use is information I just don't have that kind of resolution on. Maybe it's something that maybe somebody like Randy and I could work together on and kind of tease out. Yeah. So Randy.
Need more?
What's that?
Do you need more? Or
I don't. I think you guys have put up it.
Thank you. Well done.
It'll be a test. At the end of the meeting. Thank you so much.
Take care, Gary.
Time that to
Oh, man, my high school chemistry teacher is spinning.
Yeah, really.
Laudable goal. but
She told me I'd be sorry someday if I
There's so many
didn't pay
factors.
attention.
Right, so many factors.
I understood one thing, the reason he did the west side.
That's
when you used to live.
But yeah.
Oh, my God.
Rainy weekend every week.
Wow.
In the summer, so that affect. Right. Suppress it or enhance it.
Moving on, if that's possible. Mooring variance, Town of Queensbury. Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is the East Lake George House. Mr. Doug Patrick is here. The applicant has proposed to add a mooring to berth a 24-foot sailboat for private use at a property that houses a Class A marina. Again, it's going to be for private use. The facility itself, back in 2007, was stripped of 9 moorings, basically due to non-compliance and failure to maintain the permitted locations. And the sailboat that they that they will be using, used to be docked in the berth and the slips, but with wind and wave damage to the sailboat, they can't berth it there anymore. The subject property has 160 feet of lakefront and is improved with 5 docks. And I should point out, though, that the moorings that were there existed there prior to 1981, before our regs and DEC regs took effect. And the applicant is now seeking a variance on the number of wharfs/moorings allowed, the property line setbacks, the 20-foot setbacks, and also mooring offshore greater than 100 feet from the mean high water mark. You can step up and fill in any gaps that I may have missed.
Thank you. Hi folks, Doug Kirkpatrick here. Historically, this unit had 9 moorings. My father, that owned the property at the time, now has passed away some 12 years ago, was issued non-compliance for some of the moorings outside the mooring area because it was restricted on the result of some neighbors that had complained at some point in time, appropriately, because it was outside its boundaries. This is specific just to the fact that we can't put a sailboat on our dock. We'd like one for the family. The wave action in the bay is extreme. I'm not sure if any are localized to that area, but the Warner Bay, Van Warner Bay is filled with surf boats. The wave actions are pretty substantial for the marina, and frankly, having a sailboat on the dock isn't really a functional option for us. So we're seeking really just a singular mooring in a very protected area. It's inside of the depth of our dock, which extends beyond it, if you've seen on some of the pictures, in the hopes of just simply having that recreational option for the family.
Thank you.
Any questions I can answer from anybody?
No, we'll get back. You can relax now for a minute.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
is there anybody else here to speak in support or again the project?
I have a question for Randy.
Okay.
Clarification, with a lot line adjustment, we still can't make it compliant.
Correct. We looked at that and bringing in the mooring to kind of bring it in, well, you extend the northern property line, kick it out a little bit. You would still have to worry about the property line to the south and the setback there. And so bringing that into shore a little closer on the swing of the radius, you're going to end up in about 2.5 to 3 feet of, maybe 3 feet of water, and that wouldn't fit the sailboat.
And this is a keel boat that you want to moor, right?
Right.
No, probably shoal keel.
Yeah.
I think we're looking at a day sailboat. I think
Yeah.
just primarily for the family. There's 4 of us.
Partial keel and then
Right.
partial centerboard.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else have any questions? Do we have a resolution?
Yes.
Well, we visited it, we were there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I know you like to get a comment from
I
us
do.
about that.
Thank you for,
I mean-
That
that's
was-
why you're here, Kat.
Yeah. We've all, some of us visited the site, and it was difficult to kind of visualize where it would be because it's open water there, and there wasn't anything in the water to signify. But I think everybody agreed that that's probably a reasonable solution at this point, given the damage that's been to the sailboat and everything.
Okay.
And I
There
just
was-
had, well, I had a question of, because, hi Doug, Dr. Kirkpatrick. I'm not the most dexterous person when I drive my boat, but I was just wondering if any of your people that berth their boats at your dock were concerned about pulling out if the sailboat was there. Did they express a worry or anything like that?
No, I think that many people that have been there for 20-plus years. They were there when the 9 sailboats were clustered in that area.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, well.
And the boats that are there are going to be far enough away from that area to be able to maneuver safely and back out of that area.
Nice.
So I think that would be sufficient for us. And I think we've talked to the neighbors on either side. They seem to have been accepting of this. So we thought it might be hopeful that you guys would approve. So
Okay, thank you.
of course.
You'll note from the resolution, excuse me, there are some draft conditions that sort of reflect the application being only used for sailboats, only used for residential use, no commercial use. And then given the history of non-compliance, this certainly seems feasible to maintain a single mooring in the same space where 9 were approved, but there's just some language in there about maintaining compliance, just to go with that base.
Resolution 2026-23, approved mooring variance application. Application number is DWM 25-30117. Applicant is Eastlake George House. The applicant has applied for a variance to add a mooring ball, and the Lake George Park Commission has reviewed the application, supporting documents, comments received, and other information which appears in the record. The commission has made a determination pursuant to 6 NYCRR 645-3.6 and the State Environmental Quality Review Act of 6 NYCRR 617.5 that the project is a Type 2 action, does not require further review of potential impacts pursuant to this act, and the action is a minor project pursuant to 6 NYCRR 645-5.3, and public notice has been published and distributed consistent with the regulations. Whereas the applicant has requested a variance from 646-1.1C 11, no dock or mooring shall be constructed within the 20-foot setback of the adjacent property line or perpendicular line extension, whichever results in the greater setback. And 646-1.1C 2I, 3 I's. No dock or mooring shall be constructed more than 100 feet from the mean high water mark. And 646-1.1C7, the maximum number of docks, wharfs, and moorings permitted per lakefront or parcel shall be limited to as follows. Number 3, 151 feet to 250 feet of lakefront, only 2 docks plus 2 moorings. Whereas the applicant has demonstrated strict conformance with the regulation will cause unnecessary hardship due to unique peculiar circumstances which impose substantial financial, technical, or safety burdens. And whereas the commission finds that the project is no reasonable possibility that the applicant's property will bring a reasonable return following conformance with the regulation. And whereas the commission finds the project will have no adverse impact on the health, safety, or welfare of the public, the environment, or the resources of the park, will not alter the essential character of the area in which it is proposed, will not lead to congestion in the park, and will not have an undue visual, cultural, or audible impact on the neighborhood or the park. Now therefore be resolved, the Lake George Park Commission hereby approves the above application with the following conditions of the design plans. Number 1, the mooring location and associated vessel swing must be maintained in compliance with the permit. And number 2, the mooring may only be used for sailboat. Used by motorboats is prohibited. And number 3, the mooring may only be utilized for residential use by the landowner. Commercial use is prohibited. So moved.
Second. Motion's made, motion's second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no nays? That's carried. Congratulations. You're welcome, thank you. Item 6, a dock variance in the town of Lake George. Is that a Randy?
That's me again, thank you. The applicant is Wileway LLC. Devin Dickinson is here from Adirondacks to chat about it after I introduce it here. The applicant has proposed adding dock structures to accommodate a large tour boat for a family event. The proposal involves adding 2 dock extensions of 8 feet to avoid contact with the existing closed-sided boathouse, as well as a 40-foot pier extension lengthwise or perpendicular so that the boat can butt up against that as well. The application is for a temporary dock. All these structures will be temporary and they'll be pile docks and they'll be removed. The property itself has 646 feet of shoreline and it's currently improved with 3 docks. So they do have the ability to add a 4th dock. And they are seeking a variance to build the temporary dock beyond 40 feet from the mean low water mark, as well as adding those bump outs will increase the square footage of over 700 square feet per dock. So we did receive a single comment on this, and it was positive. We did, because the neighbors, the property itself is a convex shape, there really weren't neighbors that would be impacted, but we went across the bay, and just in case their visual impact would be hindered. And like I said, 1 comment just supporting the project and hoping for a great family event. That's it. Devin, do you want to step up and fill in any holes?
Thank you, Randy. Devin Dickinson, as Randy said, so I'm here on behalf of the wards. I know it's a little bit of a unique request because it is for a temporary dock structure that we do plan to take out. I think 2 of the critical elements here from the ward standpoint is use of the antique boat, which was actually built in 1910. It's a bit of a family heirloom, so I think that's a very critical thing to them, is to be able to use this boat to bring the bride and groom to the event. And then, of course, the other big thing is the Adirondack. That's going to provide seating, food, beverages, all those types of things. I know some of the members were out there. It is a very wooded site and, a bit of a rugged site, so they don't have a lot of square footage there to provide, seating for that many people. We did go, in our normal process, we went through multiple alternatives and kind of arrived at this as being the lesser, least impactful out of the different alternatives. One thing we did come up against, as Randy mentioned, is all of these will require a variance for offshore distance and for square footage, in all the different alternatives that we tried. We chose the pile-driven construction because it has very limited impact, if any impact. We've had other sites where DEC has said because the piles are hollowed, there's no disturbance associated with that. Also makes it a little easier for us to remove it. Lastly, that boat weighs 100 ton, so we really need something significant and structurally strong to protect the dock and boathouse. So I think that's pretty much it. Those are the main keys for the wards is being, able to access that antique boat and then obviously protecting their boathouse, with the Adirondack being berthed there. So, any questions?
Randy, did you discuss with him that option that we talked about when we visited the site that Tom came up with?
Yes, we talked about possibly doing a cantilevered action with the extensions and doing extensions and kind of using more of the existing dock structure. And if you want to speak to that.
So the issue is the second from the north is the longest slip in the boathouse. That's where the antique boat is. If we did that scenario, which isn't a bad scenario, the issue is it's going to block that slip for the duration of the boat arriving before the event and being there after the event. So as they come in the antique boat, they have nowhere to cross tie that boat, is the issue. So we've really worked to try and keep that one slip open.
They would not be willing to moor that antique boat on the inside dock temporarily during the party?
That would also be blocked. You're talking about the exterior L dock?
Very exterior, very exterior. Not the interior slip.
Oh, on the north side?
Yeah.
I think the concern is you can't cross tie it. If you get any kind of rough, for the antique boat, then you're essentially up against the bumpers and everything else.
Spring lines or something couldn't be used temporarily for just during the party?
Potentially. It's something I would have to ask them if they're comfortable with.
Is the actual wedding reception going to be on the Adirondack?
They're using it primarily, yes, because that's where they're going to serve food and drinks and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, you'll have access to the property as well, so it'll probably be both.
So there's shore activities and boat activities?
Correct.
And how many people are on the Adirondack?
I think they said 200 was the guest count.
The problem here is that there isn't a financial justification for this. In the regulations, it states that there's a financial hardship.
We have to weigh hardship.
Sure, absolutely. So
That's not being met.
I think the only thing I could speak to on financial hardship is, if we did our fourth dock in a compliant location, there's significant site work that needs to be done to be able to access that dock. And that was one of the reasons that scenario was, and disturbance to the lake shore as well.
Tell me what is going to be left there when the Adirondack leaves at the end of that business day to return to its normal berth. What's going to be left that, I guess my cursory reading of the file includes the removal at the end of the season.
Correct.
So that doesn't say temporary to me.
Well, the end of the season is more of a selfish ask from us. Obviously, we're busy, we're booked through the season, so it just gives us time. We take our barges out in December. It just gives us time to try and fit that into our schedule. If that's a deal breaker, we can do what we can do to get them out earlier.
I mean, I'm just stuck on that thought, is the fact that the boat leaves, bride and groom goes away, everybody else goes home.
Yeah.
Whiskey bottles are cleaned up, and then within a 7-day period, the site is returned back to its original.
That's not off the table. I mean,
Not off the table?
if that is, you know, a criteria to get it approved, I think we could work with that. It just makes it tough for us, but we could do it.
You know, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and where I'm going with this is physically, engineering-wise, you can put that dock in, put the boat there, it's going to support it, you can put the hack-a-craft around the corner, whatever, the cruise craft. I keep thinking, 200 people, the liability, where does that stop as far as the park commission goes? We're granting something like this boat to bring in 200 people. Trust me, that walkway up and down,
Yeah.
especially it was a little wet because it was raining. If there should be a little bit of a shower inclement, it is just an accident waiting to happen. And I'm not talking about people that have had 1 or 2 drinks in them or more. I just think of the whole impact, Devin, and I'm like, that's my justification for not approving this. But the other way, it'll work. And you come in and you take the dock out. It's a tough call for me.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, from liability's hard to speak of. I don't know, maybe they take an insurance policy out for the event. I'm not sure.
But I mean, where I'm going is, and maybe our council can answer that. We approved this, and, well, that person never would have broken her neck if it hadn't been approved.
There's no liability to the commission.
Oh, okay.
Things like
Thank
that.
you.
We don't
That
owe a
makes me
special
feel better.
duty to, I mean,
On any project.
on any project.
Okay.
We
All right.
run that risk.
Okay. I just thought this was something out of the ordinary.
So the wedding guests are going to arrive by the Adirondack and eventually leave by the Adirondack?
I believe the wedding guests, they have shuttle services. So the wedding guests are going to arrive by a shuttle service that they've contracted with. The Adirondack is going to come at its leisure to get secured and set up for the event. So it's a floating,
It's not transportation, it's just the venue.
correct.
I thought
Correct.
people were going to have to leave the boat and go on to the party area on top of the boathouse. And where are they setting up the tent?
I don't know if they're doing a tent. Did it say a tent in the wedding venue?
I thought I read that.
The boat is the tent.
Yeah.
Oh,
Boat
okay.
is the
All right, I thought I had read tent in the,
We're going to wander from shore onto the boat, and there's music provided and food, and we're going to have our wedding reception on the boat.
or on
And
the
when-
top of the
At
boathouse.
some point, it's,
So this is the day before the wedding. So this is really the rehearsal dinner.
Oh.
Yeah. The wedding is on the 12th, and that does not involve the Adirondack.
Oh, this is just for the rehearsal dinner?
Yes.
Oh.
200 guests for rehearsal?
That wasn't clear.
Maybe.
well, maybe we should all go up and closely monitor it.
There you go. You probably wouldn't notice.
They wouldn't know we were 200 people, they wouldn't, 7 or 8 more.
Yeah.
So the time frame for this is very short at being there,
Yes. Yes.
the dock would be there longer, but you're open to it coming out sooner.
Yes. Yes. You know, there's some practical, time frame it takes us to actually come and install. Obviously, you want to do it early in case there's any issue or weather, those types of things.
So what's the
And
minimum
then-
amount of time you think you need to install and then get it out?
I would say our plan is to probably start install 3 to 4 weeks before the event.
And then how long after?
Probably 2 weeks, best case scenario to get everything in, but that gives us a little bit of a
And how
buffer.
much time do you need afterward to remove it?
Removal will be a little bit easier. We could probably get it out of there in a week.
So you're looking at maybe a month overall?
Yeah, a month to
What
5
dates are
weeks.
we talking about?
The event is on the 11th.
The
So our-
11th of
September.
September.
So so this year. So we would start installation in August.
Understand the installation will be much more time-intensive than the simple, simple removal.
It takes time. You know, you're pulling all those pieces, you're putting them on the barge, you're barging them off-site, getting them on trailers, you know, at 3 miles per hour. So there's definitely time to it still, even dismantling.
Wow.
So,
Notwithstanding all the practical issues, I don't think I can approve it based on our criteria. I'm really
Just to
wrestling.
clarify, because I've seen several different options, what you're proposing is what?
so it's 2 extensions off the dock. Those extensions provide a tie-off point for the boat and to protect the overhang in the boathouse. Then we're going to do let's say an L section off the southern dock. What that does is 2 things. That's where the guests will load and unload off of the boat, and then gives us a point on the back of the boat to tie off to.
Okay.
And in that scenario, it gets the bow of the boat basically lined up with the slip where the antique boat is.
But you said they're coming in on a shuttle up that round curvy
They'll-
road.
yes.
That's steep.
Correct. They'll come into the property by car.
And they'll leave by shuttle.
Yes.
Because there's no parking there.
Correct. They've contracted with Premier, I believe, to pick guests up off-site and bring them to and from the event. And I don't know where that is. They may have a local hotel where they've got rooms blocked out. I'm not sure.
Revolutionary War
Well, the
started.
fact that it's September 11th after Labor Day,
Yeah.
to me, changes
this is
a
different.
lot.
In that section there.
It's a little quieter.
This is the,
Yeah.
It'll be a lot.
Yeah, so he's going to
Yeah.
add these 2 sections to, and then that.
and this.
The fact that it's September 11th after Labor Day, to me, there's not really a concern with leaving it in until their schedule is better. I don't see why we insist on that. If we're going to go with it, why not?
I mean,
Let them take it back out
I wonder what the draft.
I mean, I
through
give
October,
you,
and then you take it out in November, what difference?
I give you 4 or 5 weeks, 5 weeks.
I don't see that as a huge issue.
So the question is, why would we say, take it out at the end of the season versus take it out quickly?
Right.
So the question, I mean, in my mind, that is it very, very busy? And therefore, we should let it happen and it had to be done? Or does it set a precedent to say, we'll let you take it out when you want? Now, hearing that it's in September, personally, I'm kind of like, maybe they can take a little longer. But I think that the precedent actually becomes the most important part of that. There's a lot of wealthy people. Obviously, this is an extraordinary, costly venture. There's a lot of very wealthy people on the lake that may want to do something the same. Not saying that we're against it, I just think we have to be really careful with this as the first request, that we craft it for the future as much as a secondary. Obviously, first is for the person applying. So,
Since we're given opinions, I just soon say, I don't believe this meets the financial portion of the regulation at this point. And so, we take a vote. I'm going to be against it.
A straw poll?
Yes.
Well, I don't think it meets the financial portion either, but said, it can be modified and taken away, and it's a request.
Would you object if we took a straw vote?
Nope.
And you'd have a clear picture?
Sure. Absolutely.
All right.
Can I ask one question?
Sure
If we
can.
took a straw vote, do you have enough time to table this if it didn't go your way?
No,
No, you'd have to know now.
because we have to have the docks fabricated, galvanized. There's a lot of things that need to happen.
What's your deadline of doing something?
I mean, we're at the end of June. You've typically got 3 to 4 weeks by the time you turn around fabrication, galvanization. It pretty much puts us right at, an August install. Took longer to get here than we anticipated originally. So,
Okay. We're going to take a poll. Any other commissioners have a comment before the poll? So that the poll is just a simple yes or no. And we all have your thoughts. Mr. Jarrett?
What is the exact
I'm
wording
sorry.
of like the financial burden we're talking about, I guess, just because, I mean, they're claiming what the financial burden is, that it would cost too much to put the fourth dock in that they're allowed. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, perhaps the pole.
They're not proposing the fourth dock.
No.
They're not
No.
proposing a fourth
They're
dock.
not using that.
They're proposing a addition to the current docks,
That requires a variance.
which requires the variance.
But you just mentioned that there was a place that they could put a fourth dock, but that would be too expensive.
Yes.
Yeah, we did not get an estimate, but it was basically that you have to remove some trees and use
A lot of shoreline work.
And then.
Probably put a
That's
stairway in.
not
Probably, yes.
something that we can consider.
So I can
Right.
just read the regulation if you'd
Sure.
like.
Thank you.
The variance can only be granted if the application establishes by substantial, credible evidence that there's an unnecessary hardship. And that has to be unique and peculiar conditions to the particular situation which impose a substantial technological, financial, or safety burden upon the applicant or the public. And that because of such uniqueness, there's no reasonable possibility that the property or the use or activity will bring a reasonable return following conformity with the regulations of the commission. I mean, that's the financial part of it. So it has to have a reasonable return. It can't have a reasonable return
Inability
by
to-
following, right. And they have to have substantial, credible evidence. And I don't, just from council's perspective, I don't see that that's been presented. And my concern also from council's perspective, I know there was discussion, I think Kathy brought about precedent, about taking it out. My concern is precedent putting it in. That this is going to, as you indicate, there are some folks with significant income, and I want to have a graduation party. My daughter just graduated. I want to have a graduation party. Well, you let them have a wedding. Why can't I have my party? I just think without this reasonable return issue, you'd be okay, but that's embedded into your variance requirement.
Right.
Yeah. And it doesn't meet it, period.
Right.
That's your decision. I have not seen any evidence showing the return of investment on any of
Question is,
this.
could they get reasonable return on the property if this project doesn't go through?
Right. Gotcha.
We haven't seen any
It's not
evidence that they
affecting it
couldn't.
negatively.
Right.
Can I look at it from one different perspective just for a moment? The subject property has 646 feet of shoreline. Could they, within the code, without getting a variance, apply for and get permission or get a dock built that would accommodate this boat at a different location so that they could pull the Adirondack in there
Yeah.
and then leave it there permanently and not even have to have a variance?
Yes.
In theory,
It's in
yes.
there, that they've said no.
That's an
to.
option. They said
They
no.
didn't propose it. They rejected it.
Okay, I know, but I'm just, the logic to me is somebody with that amount of lakefront could just build a dock and put it in and dock the boat there. And what they're asking instead for is a temporary structure so that they don't build that dock and they don't do all of the impacts to the lake and to the shoreline that dock would have. And that doesn't change anything, because that's logical to me, even though this seems absurd and excessive in so many ways. But if I had 646 feet of shorefront, I could just build a great big dock.
That's not being proposed, okay?
I know, but that
No,
is
his
an
concern
alternative.
is he thinks it's a logical fallacy back and forth. That, yes, you can put a permanent one in, and that's fine, no problem, no variance, but you can't put a temporary one in.
Right.
And that seems illogical to you.
That's right. Thank you.
But that's not what the regulations say.
Okay.
They can put in a temporary where it meets the regulation and take it out if they wanted to.
The financial hardship that they propose is putting in that compliant dock. You have a steep forested slope. You'd have to provide, an area for folks to come up and down the slope, so they'd have to develop that. There's a cost associated with that. So they wouldn't get the return on that investment compared to a temporary dock, is what's been presented as the hardship.
So are you saying that is a financial hardship that they're presenting, or
They did
that is
present
not?
that. They
Because
said
I
we could
do
put
see that.
in, we could put in that.
I see that not only as a financial hardship, but I see that as common sense, that we as a commission don't want to see a great big dock being built if we could avoid it, it's a little temporary thing.
Does he still get them out?
It makes total sense to me, but
Yeah, that's the argument that's in the application.
Right.
And Devin, I have a question, because
Yes.
I felt the same way Bill did, and I talked to Randy earlier about it. If they had to put in, hypothetically, if they had to put in if they said, okay, we're just gonna build a dock,
that's still not.
looking at that shoreline and stuff, where that dock would go would not, and let's say the Adirondack would be able to berth there, that would not be able to drop the people off at the boathouse. The dock could not be built in that proximity. Is that correct?
Yeah, one of the scenarios we looked at is having an L-shaped dock to the south, which would essentially do similar to what we're proposing, allow people to get on and off the boat. But in order to do that, because the boat is, I think, 110 feet long, 115 feet long, it would have to be separated far enough from the other docks we couldn't connect the two legally. Your only access would be shore.
Right.
Which is impractical.
Then they would have to now do a new path to do this and come,
Yeah, it's very, very rocky and steep.
What's their alternative if you get a no today?
I think they're going to try and do it without the boat. I don't know how, but they've already got the event and the date set, so.
All right, can I ask just one question? I want to follow up on what Bill said, to make sure that I'm thinking of this right. Bill, you said, wouldn't we rather do something temporary than put a dock in? We're for whatever is legal. Like, we don't ever say as a park commission, I really don't want you to have a dock, right? I mean, it's not the number of docks, it's if it's legal and they put an application in, they can get a dock. So what part of that statement did I not understand?
I understand that. When I say we would rather,
That's what I'm...
okay, I'm thinking in terms of the effects to Lake George. Building a brand-new dock, impacting the shoreline that a new dock construction and the lake bottom and everything else. So to build a giant permanent dock that they could build has a huge impact to Lake George. Every single dock we build on Lake George, or allow, has that impact. And if it's legal, then that's fine. What they're proposing is an alternative to doing that to me has better impacts to Lake George, because it's just temporary. It's basically building temporary gangplanks. It's not really doing much of anything, although I think you described it as pilings. So
Yes.
they're going to, each one of those will have pilings. Those will affect the lake bottom temporarily. But that's minimal to me. I mean, I know docks.
If I may,
This is, I would welcome it.
we're talking about different things.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the reasonable return on investment, that's what I'm hearing and what I saw. That's the concern, and that's the reason for a potential denial. It has nothing to do with how it impacts the lake. That's a different part in here. You have to meet all of these requirements, and even if they meet 4 out of 5, they haven't met the 5th. And so it's the 5th one, correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner, but it's the 5th one that's really the focus here. Is that, so when you're saying that what the effect on the lake, shouldn't we have temporary rather than permanent, that's a different issue. That's the public health and safety of the lake, as opposed to, for this particular applicant, what is the reasonable return? And have they met the substantial financial hardship as required in the regulations? So I think they're different issues that's being discussed.
Right.
Thank you.
So do we want to take a straw vote or read the resolution?
I think we probably should take a straw vote. We haven't had this much conversation on a project in I don't know how long.
If we act on this and it's outside of the regulations, those 5 points that we have to make, what are we exposing ourselves to?
Yes.
There's always an exposure of an Article 78. That being said, if you do a denial, the landowner has the right within 15 days to request a hearing.
I brought that up too.
So
Well, I think
if we do the
straw-
straw vote, go ahead.
Well, I mean, we can't change, we're not going to vote on anything other than what the application is.
Right.
So we can't say, well, this is based
What
on
if,
that
right.
kind of thing. And the application includes this long-term removal, for lack of a better term.
It
All right.
includes the long-term, when you say long-term removal, what do you mean?
In other words,
Sometime this season.
see, it's at the end of the, it spells it out at the end of the season.
Oh, there will be a longer time to remove it?
Right.
Not, okay.
So, like, for instance, I can't get you to say, if it's shorter, will you vote for it?
Right.
I have to vote for it on whether, if that's my only objection, I have to vote against it because I think the removal is too long. But that's a fair vote on my part.
But you can also vote against it for financial hardship. There's no financial hardship stated. Period.
I think we could approve with modifications.
Yes.
If the board agreed to the same modifications and the applicant willing to entertain them.
Which we've done
Because,
many times.
again, you could say, I would vote for it if they took it out in 5 weeks, with that modification that Joe just said.
Right.
No,
But
it
does
could be.
everybody-
It's just adding a condition. If you agree to everything else, you can add a condition for
As long
that.
as
But
they-
again, you have to look at
Yeah.
everything else.
Yes.
Is the theory of precedent part of that?
Yeah, it can be,
Everything, yeah.
absolutely.
So if someone comes in and says they want to do it in Sandy Bay, or, and the way, they want to put this out there, put a new dock in, blah, 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 I mean, so many people could come back, is this correct? And say, well, you did it once, why can't I do it for this time frame? Even if we make it a tight time frame, because the destruction, affecting the lakes happened, whether it's permanent or temporary, it's happened. It's probably twice as much because you're going to put it in, then you're going to pull it out, in terms of affecting the lake.
Yeah.
Because it would only go in once to start.
You always, whenever you're doing a resolution, you have the potential for a precedent argument on the next person. You can protect yourself a little bit about that by saying, on the specific facts of the specific case at the specific location, that doesn't completely protect you from the next person coming in and saying, well, you did this then and you're discriminating against me. Anybody can sue anybody for anything at any time.
But it gives you a future basis of thought.
But if you do it now and someone says they want to do the exact same thing, what is your basis?
And if we do it based on the fact that it doesn't meet all the 5 requirements, then that's a precedent that somewhat gets set.
Unless we can somehow justify why this is different.
But we have a legal basis behind us.
Yes.
For what?
If we're voting to comply with our regulations.
We say no then.
Right.
Yeah.
But if we said yes.
Depending on what you vote, but if you
doesn't
vote
meet-
no because you think it's complying with our regulations, that I think we have the legal basis behind us to support us.
So does this satisfy you folks, where you say yes or no? And if you say no, you with a very simple explanation, what would have moved you to yes? Is that fair? Because if you're talking about modifications, we got to know what the suggested modification is.
But if it doesn't meet one of the 5 requirements, we're,
Financial hardship.
yeah, if it doesn't meet it, how can you make it meet it?
Then you're just being straight
Then you're just saying, okay, well, I'm going to give up on the 5th. I need one of these.
Right.
I don't know if that's, I'm too young on the commission to say if that's.
You would say, I would not vote for this because it does not meet the requirements.
So there's no alternative at that point, unless you decide to accept something that doesn't meet the alternatives, correct?
Well, you can say it doesn't meet the requirements. Bill can say it does meet the requirements because they gave us the financial information in the packet to say, well, this is how much it would cost to put the dock in, a permanent dock. So that's where, now it's on your
Our own
folks.
personal interpretation.
You're- Exactly. But my role is to say, whatever you say, I need to defend it against either them or somebody else. So make sure that when you put your position on, you have a basis for it.
So, in the financial one, the reason they're saying no to doing what would make that acceptable, that we could say, yes, they followed it, is that they don't want to build a dock and leave it permanently. Is that correct? It's too expensive?
Right, and correct me if I'm wrong, Devin, but the financial hardship that they're saying is, look, it's going to cost us X number of dollars for us to not require a variance, and that's us looking at a feasible alternative. It's going to cost us X number of dollars, and that's not going to bring us our return on investment, therefore it's too much money. Whereas if we can do this, it's not going to be as much, so therefore, that's our financial hardship.
And do we-
Just for a second, Kathy, is that?
That is
generally?
correct.
Okay.
And it's really specific to the site work needed. A tremendous amount of site work to get to the dock.
In addition, I mean, just also the boathouse too.
Yeah.
The original idea of bumping it out was, it says $150,000 to $200,000 to modify the boathouse because it goes right up to the end of the dock. Right. You'd have to adjust that to move it back. And that was one of the listings.
So they did present a feasible alternative and saying this is how much it's going to cost. The question to the commission is that sufficient to meet the requirements in the regulations or not?
So, the problem I have, other than the financial justification, is the fact that they're not even considering the idea, I think, that Tom brought up of not modifying the boathouse significantly, but by just putting it in the slip and moving out that way. That's a minimum impact to the lake, number one. And number two is, this is a rehearsal party. Why is the bride and groom coming in with an old boat? You know, that's not the wedding type of thing. It's just a show-off. And they're essentially saying that we don't want to lose the dock space for the old boat. And we also want to add this finger. So, I mean, to me, they're essentially...
They're passing their hardship to us.
Right, exactly. They're, you know, if you want to do this with a minimum impact to the lake and to everything else, it's to do what I think Tom suggested when we were at site. And they're not considering it. So my take is, it's a no vote.
And that's less financially?
Yeah.
Significantly less?
Less financially,
And
less impact to the lake, everything is less. And they say, no, okay, fine. So I say take a straw vote.
There's been two major objections been discussed. One, financial hardship, and the other is the length of time that it's there. If we voted on the application as it is, we all know what that says, and it was denied, would your client come back at July, to our July meeting, with an amended application and attempt to console us?
So the last I spoke with the wards, the answer is no. My concern is if it's fully denied, then we have no chance to come back with anything similar. If they change their mind, it's hard, obviously, they're not here. So based on my last conversation, no. I think it's hard to put enough emphasis on how important this antique boat is to them, you know, and how much they want to protect it. You know, it seems simple enough to say put it on whips, but what if there's bad weather? What if it's windy? You know, branch from a tree falls on it. I think that's their resistance to it. You know,
They could park it where the Adirondacks normally parked for the length of the time.
There you go, down in Lake George, yeah.
I'm a genius.
Or they could just put it on a trailer and pull it out.
Yeah.
After they drive them up. So it's easy. Okay, I suggest we take a vote.
A vote.
Yeah.
I do too.
A straw vote or a
Real vote?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Whatever vote we do is going to be a roll call vote.
But a real vote, not a straw
A
vote.
real vote.
But if we take a straw vote and it looks like it's not going to be approved, they would have the opportunity to table it.
We could table it then.
Yes.
Yeah, but Devin's saying, that's not going to work for us. I need
Well,
an
it depends
answer
on
to
what
that.
they propose. If it was something simple, they could come back.
So even if it's denied, they can bring it back if the updated proposal is substantially different.
It has to be
You
substantially
can't come
different.
back asking the same thing over and over, but.
Which is what Devin acknowledged, it has to be substantially different.
Right. It sounds like they might not have time for that, but I think they could if they wanted to.
Even though
That's up
we've
to him.
identified something that is substantially different for them to choose.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
If we take the straw vote, he would have the opportunity, if he feels it appropriate, to table it. If we go to a formal vote, he doesn't have that opportunity.
Yes, he does.
Doesn't matter.
If you take, it's the same thing. If you take a full vote.
At discussion, he could do that.
Nope. If you take a full vote and it's denied, as Joe just said, he still can come back.
Yeah, but it has to be substantially different.
Correct.
Right, but he still could do that.
Yeah, I'm giving him the opportunity, I'm proposing giving him the opportunity for something, a tweak to it. If he tables it, he could come back in July with something
Devin,
that's
you don't
not
have time for
substantially
a
different.
tweak, do you?
It'd be tough. When's the July meeting? What's the date on the July meeting?
It's the last two, it's the
The fourth Tuesday in
Yeah.
July.
If the guy wants a paid lunch for it.
Probably not. And the other problem is on their end, if they have to pivot, that doesn't give them enough time to,
So you need something.
I think today, yeah. So I guess the reality is however you want to vote, whether it's straw or a full-on vote, that's okay.
Okay. All right, so I'll read the resolution.
Mr. Chairman, what do you want to do?
What do you want to do?
I want to do a roll call vote,
Put a full vote, not just a straw vote.
A real vote.
a real vote.
Okay.
So, Resolution 2026-24, approve a temporary dock variance application. Application number is DWM 2640 and the 69. Applicant is Waylay Way LLC. The applicant has applied for a permit for temporarily to modify an existing dock complex to accommodate berthing of a tour boat for a family event. The Lake George Park Commission has reviewed the application, supporting documents, comments received, and other information which appears in the record. The Commission has made a determination pursuant to 6 NY CRR 645-3.6 and the State Environmental Quality Review Act 6 NY CRR 617.5 that the project is a Type 2 action, does not require further review of potential impacts pursuant to this act, whereas the action is a minor project pursuant to 6 NY CRR 645-5.3, and public notice has been published and distributed consistent with the regulations. The applicant has requested a variance from 646-1.1C2I. No dock or wharf shall be constructed more than 40 feet beyond the mean low water mark, and 646-1.1C4. The maximum surface area of any dock or wharf shall be 700 square feet. And whereas the Commission finds that the project there is no reasonable possibility that the applicant's property will bring a reasonable return following conformance with the regulation, and whereas the Commission finds that the project will have no adverse impact on the health, safety, or welfare of the public, the environment, or the resources of the park, will not alter the essential character of the area in which it is proposed, will not lead to congestion in the park, and will not have an undue visual, cultural, audible impact on the neighborhood or the park. Now, therefore, the Lake George Park Commission hereby approves the above application. So moved.
Second?
Motion's made to approve, motion second to approve. Any further comments on the motion? Roll call vote. Let's start and go this way.
Me?
Yes or no?
No.
One.
No.
No.
Yes.
Yes. Kath?
After all of this, no.
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 Joe? No.
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 No. Me? Why do I have to vote?
Be part of the crew.
I'm voting no also. So that's, you had one yes.
Not bad.
Don't know how many marks that is, but I know one yes.
Yeah.
We appreciate your time and patience with this. As you can see, we take our job very seriously.
Absolutely.
And this is an extraordinary project. It sounds as simple
I
as
agree.
it could be. Three girls are together, and Jeannie, why don't you have it on a boat? Oh, okay, I'll ask my dad.
Or three
Or
guys.
three guys or
Yeah,
get
really.
together.
It is the sun.
Sounds sexist to
Kathy's
me.
right, it's the sun. It's the sun.
Strike
Yeah.
that one from the
Yeah.
record.
No, I do appreciate everybody's time. I know this was a unique one and a bit of a long shot, but I appreciate you taking the time to look at it, so.
You know how to reach our key people if
They were great.
you have
They were
another
huge.
question. And
Yep, huge help. So, nope, I appreciate it. Appreciate everybody's time, so.
we appreciate yours.
All right.
Thanks for
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care.
He makes some change to his application such that he does that in the slip, the minimum impact of the...
These guys have to decide if it's substantial.
I know what you mean.
I think that last paragraph says it all.
Yeah, get rid of 40 foot.
The vote was 1-8, if you need it for the minutes.
So motion
You already know
denied.
that.
The last paragraph in the resolution.
Wait, Aaron, did you say that again?
It's a good point.
I struggle, what I struggle with is like how much of that do we really ask of everybody else, like the guy that we just gave the mooring to?
Yep.
Would his property really have been not, you know?
That has been brought up, actually,
So
quite a bit to
it's like,
discuss.
why deny one person and not the other when I don't think the other person really met that burden either? I'm sure his property would sell just as much without that mooring out there.
Yeah, so some of it, the history of the approvals has to do with losing a use. So, Mr. Kirkpatrick earlier, that property had 9 moorings at one time. If it still had 9 moorings, it'd be worth more than it's worth today. So we basically gave back one of those moorings and returned some of that value that otherwise was lost. A lot of times it's somebody with a dock on a delta, and over time they lose their berthing space. So they had a berthing space and they lost one. So unless we extend it, they're losing that value. So usually it's a use that exists and is lost. In this case, it's a new and unique and proposed use that, you know, is not a historic
I can
use.
see I can see the distinction, but I still just felt like I didn't know how much we really seemed to follow that out pretty new, you know? So like, you know, how
In some cases, we do ask for like opinions of real estate agents or.
So we generally ask for dollars and cents analysis.
But this was a history type circumstance.
And I was here during all of that time with his father, and
It's very cumbersome.
that was probably 60% of the problem was his father. He just ignored us.
And we're still in open session.
Scratch that one.
That's why
All
I
right.
have a question for you.
One other suggestion on this, and it goes to what Walt just said about the real estate agent. We do know that we have a little trouble on the financial hardship. Our ex-chairman, our older chairman, used to remind us all the time that the real estate agent letters were written completely wrong as far as justifying financial hardship, and he used to say he was ignoring them. And I didn't really understand exactly what all of the logic was. I would suggest we get some education sometime on that portion, because I have a hard time with the financial hardship. And we get the same letter from on every application from real estate agents that our old chairman used to say, that doesn't cut it.
We're careful when they write them. Sometimes they write them and say, oh, the property will be more valuable if you give them this. So we're always careful to make sure that they say there'll be a loss of value. You know, a slip is worth, whatever, $100,000.
Okay.
Due to the delta, they've lost that slip, so they're losing $100,000 of value. It's kind of nuanced, but we do write back at the real estate agents and say, this isn't going to fly, don't write it like that.
Because that could be, you know, gaining value could be any number of projects.
And the flip side, they're, you know, claiming financial hardship for the construction access to that L-shaped dock that would be compliant. But the flip side is, you know, you're always adding value when you improve the property. So are they actually going to lose out on that construction if they built it and went to resell? Probably not, because they'd have that improvement to the property, you know, so.
I imagine a lot of real estate agents are uncomfortable writing those letters.
Some don't.
Because we make them, you know.
Seems like
It's a different concept.
they're always.
And I'm sure they say, am I going to get the listing? You know, history proves itself interesting, because this property, of course, is the property that, her name was Brianna, the young child that was...
Charlotte.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't know why I had a V in it. But it's funny how all of a sudden that property comes back into our circle of conversation. Anyways, moving on, I think.
You know, the sad thing, Ken, was when we were on top of the boathouse. Where the picture of Charlotte jumping off, and there's a little gate that opens up where you can go off the rail. And seriously, it was sad being there.
Being at that spot.
Yes.
Like
For me,
visiting,
it was.
like visiting your parents' grave.
But, and I will tell you, to pack 200 people plus on that property. That's
not a you issue.
But look at the last paragraph.
It's scary.
The last paragraph just puts, even with the financial reasonable return on the investment, was my main reason for denial. But when you look at that last paragraph in the resolution, holy moly.
Well, it's interesting, not to be
It was interesting, and like I say, I spent a lot of time.
But as soon as we all, I think, all found out, oh, this is the rehearsal?
But that's not really the
wedding?
reason.
That's irrelevant.
But it's psychological.
But
Yes, that's not the legal reason you
It
denied it.
is, you're
So
right, you're
I think,
absolutely
especially
right.
since the applicant's not here anymore.
It's none of our business.
Move on. Yeah.
It's none of our business.
Moving on towards lunchtime.
These are exhausting today.
Oh, I have a.
I just got back, come on.
Before I get to this,
Oh my
I
God.
believe that our July meeting is at your place or is it Lake
Yeah, it's
George
my
Club?
place.
So where's he going?
It's at the Lake George Club.
Oh.
And why don't we get the
meeting's off for
Adirondack,
lunch.
we get the Adirondack to ride us up there?
The meeting's going to be at the Lake George Club.
No.
No.
The meeting is here, or I...
We don't know yet, do we, Joe? That we're at the July meeting, we haven't arranged for that?
Well, Kara does. Kara, where's the July meeting?
I believe it's the Comfort Inn.
Comfort Inn.
Where?
Comfort Inn.
Oh, around the corner.
Oh, the Comfort Inn, oh, around the corner. Okay, thank you.
And the lunch will be at the Lake George Club.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Will you still be a member there at that time?
I hope so.
Not after we have lunch, but
He's had those
The
problems.
less they know, the safer I am.
Law Enforcement Committee report.
Yes, the Law Enforcement Committee met at 9:30 this morning, and Lieutenant Johns filled us in, first of all, on the equipment, where the DEC has approved the purchase of one of our patrol boats, and we're selling the Key West 2019 boat for $35,000, and we will be getting in January 2 engines for one of our other boats. And then the Marine Patrol will begin its full daily operations this Saturday, I think, is June 27th. And the 7-day-a-week Village Patrol also begins this weekend on Saturday. And Joe said one voter education class was completed on June 11th, or in June, and 11 students passed. And we did talk about the sad incident of the May drowning in Hague, and also another unusual, the boat versus the PWC accident, which was pretty mind-boggling there too. And that we will be cordoning off a section of the lake.
No.
No, we're not going to cordon it off.
No, we're not going to talk
Discuss it.
Oh, we're not going to talk about it, so.
Strike the record.
We strike that off the record, thank you. And the meeting, we did not go into executive session. The meeting was adjourned, and then we reinstated the meeting for a very friendly discussion on
Milfoil.
milfoil. And thank you, that's it. Could I have a
Motion to
motion
accept?
thank you, could I have a motion to
Well, you
accept the
normally-
minutes?
You gonna read
You have a
the
resolution.
No, read the resolution.
Oh, I have to read the thingy,
Yeah,
it's right there.
unfortunately.
Motion
I
to
got it.
adopt the resolution that you have in your packets.
I have it right here.
So moved.
Resolution 20, do you want me to read it?
Can we do that?
Okay,
just read.
so I will just say, let it be
Carla
resolved
just
that
read
the
it.
commission accepts the report of the Law Enforcement Committee. Do I have I made a motion to accept it, do I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. The end.
Now, public comments? Hearing none?
motion to
Adjournment?
adjourn?
Second.
Motion made, second, all in favor, carried.
call vote on that?
And we've adjourned. And is there a lunch scheduled?
Yeah. Where are we going to lunch, Joe?
Wherever you want.
Want to go to Garrison?
Let's
or-
go to Garrison, we haven't been there in a while.
Yeah, Garrison.
Garrison.
Since I've been out.
It's 11:40, they open up.
I have to go.
Thank you all for your time,
I see a lot of things where they have
et cetera, et
activities
cetera.
around here, and I ask, well, does your son ever get involved in that? They say, I say that